This is 7 News Today in New England.
Now here at 6 o'clock, storm force coverage continues this morning. New England getting belted by another powerful nor'easter. This is a live look in Worcester where you don't see a lot of people out there on the streets. That one car and that one brave gentleman walking through the roadways. It is snowing steadily already.
And this is a live look at Bridgewater, where it started snowing a few hours ago. You can see the roads are completely covered in that snow. The entire state expecting a significant amount to fall today.
That's Route 2. Major roadway there completely covered. Live look here in the city of Boston, where the city is under a snow emergency. People being urged to stay off the roadways, with the storm expected to continue all throughout the day into the afternoon hours.
And good morning, and thanks for waking up with us on this, what's going to shape up to be a pretty busy Tuesday. I'm Amaka Ubaka.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Anderson. I hope you got done yesterday what you need to get done, because some areas today are going to see more than a foot of snow. This is just the beginning of the snowfall. We have live Team 7 coverage for you of the third nor'easter to hit us in just the past 10 days. So that quiet February definitely long forgotten. Our crews are scattered all across the region. We want to start with the very latest on this storm's track with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Reiner in there this morning. Hey, JR.
Hey, Chris. Good morning, everyone. Blizzard warning in effect for Boston. This is news since last night, as well as everyone inside 128, east of 95 North Shore, and then east of Route 24 South Shore. Plymouth, Barnstable, as well as Martha's Vineyard, and the city of Boston. Worcester winter storm warning. Blizzard criteria doesn't mean that the snowfall forecast has gone up suddenly overnight. It just means that we think there will be falling snow, strong wind, reducing the visibility to a quarter mile or less for 3 consecutive hours in Boston. So that's the change since last night. You can see right here on the radar that we've got snow all over the place, and we did start off with a little bit of rain, even here in the city of Boston for a short time, but now have flipped over to snow. And these deeper shades of blue, you can see a little band right there working through the South Shore, coming out of Buzzards Bay, and then other little deeper colorings of blue as well. Those are the spokes, if you will, on a bicycle wheel that will just rotate through. And those heavy spokes of snow, they are going to spend a lot of time with us today. Most of that will be focused basically along the coastline, I-95 east, and even west of there, western New England. You get into the occasional spoke of heavy snow, but predominantly focused through southeastern Massachusetts. That's why our snowfall forecast highest down in those locations. Timeline shows the snow, and again, it's going to thump hard for several hours. It'll rip between now and up until about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, a little bit later even up on the North Shore. But I think as we work toward late day, 5 p.m., that's when the heaviest snow does begin to shut down to a lighter and patchier snow. Snowfall forecast 10 to 15 inches in the blue shading, 15 to 20 through southeastern Massachusetts. And again, as you look here, we're talking about 15 in the city, Worcester about 12, Merrimack Valley, the North Shore, anywhere between 13 and 15, and then in this pink shading right here, 15 to 20, and then out onto the Cape. You'll have some raindrops, so because of that, the numbers will be held down just a little bit, but still 10 to 15 inches of heavy wet snow, Chatham, Brewster, Wellfleet. For more on the storm, here's Red.
Good morning. Yeah, and it goes without saying, with numbers like that, we're talking about very poor travel throughout the entire day. And JR mentioned in terms of meeting blizzard criteria, we've got to have under a quarter of a mile worth of visibility for 3+ hours and some very strong winds, 35 mile per hour, frequent 35 mile per hour wind gusts for 3+ hours as well. Well, in terms of visibility, we are falling fast, and this is widespread. Hyannis at just about a quarter of a mile worth of visibility. Plymouth down to half a mile. And throughout the rest of the day, we're just going to be looking at very poor visibility, even worse than what we see now. So count on poor travel throughout the entirety of today's forecast. By tonight, we'll start to see conditions improve gradually past about 9 o'clock, but we are still seeing snow during that time as well, which tapers more so as we head into the later overnight hours. Here's a look at peak gusts that we've seen so far just this morning. Nantucket managing gusts of 63 miles per hour, Rockport seeing gusts of 51 miles per hour. And here in Boston, we've also seen some gusts of close to 50 miles per hour. As we head into today, those peak gusts are going to be during the morning hours through about mid-afternoon, but even tonight, it's still windy out there. Right now, the strongest winds are across the coastline, and that's going to be the case through the day today, with gusts up to about 55 miles per hour across the North Shore, down towards the South Shore, and then peak gusts of about 60 miles per hour on Cape Ann, as well as parts of the Cape. Nantucket even seeing some gusts closer to 70 miles per hour. Into tonight, winds die down for us. In terms of coastal concerns, our main concern is going to be this morning at about 9:15, with minor to moderate coastal flooding possible. Back to you guys.
Bren, thank you. And I know one area we've been talking about, we've been seeing snow for several hours, is Worcester. We saw Matt Rascone building that snowman there.
We think it was Matt Rascone. I don't know. We saw you with that snowball. Was that the start of your little friend that you built out there with you?
You're not going to believe this. As I was building the snowman, I found out that Brian Gregg, photographer I'm working with, has never built a snowman, apparently. So I don't know what that's about. Maybe he'll have to get out here. But I did build this. This is Brian's hat, though, and his goggles. You can see we need to wipe it off a little bit. The wind has picked up a little bit out here in Worcester just in the last little bit. But as you guys said, I mean, this is the place where we've seen just steady snowfall, at least us as we were coming out here on I-90 West since just before 3 a.m. And it has continued, lightened up a little bit at some points, and then it'll get a little heavier. We have seen some cars passing by here on the road, but the plows for the most part are keeping on top of it, making sure that these roads are cleared off. There is some accumulation. It is wet out there. And this snow, though, I mean, as you can see from the snowman, good snow to put together with some snowballs. The city offices are closed today, as well as the schools, and so this will be a snow day for the most part, as it is in most areas in Massachusetts for people here in Worcester. And they are warning people, though, to stay off the roads, especially during those peak hours that we're expecting later today. Reporting live in Worcester, Matt Rascone, 7 News, Today New England.
Yeah, it's not a bad snowman for a guy from Texas who was working in San Diego.
Shout out to Brian Gregg there. All right, we're going to go to Dan Housley, who is live in Bridgewater along Route 24. And Dan, it is really coming down there.
Yeah, no snowman building here. I'm trying to get out of the snow occasionally to not become a snowman as the snow covers me just in the few minutes when I'm out here. You can see the flakes around here. Some of the times they've been blowing into my face in ways they hadn't been before. The snow buildup, I promised you, as we see here, that's a lot more than before. It's still heavy and slushy, but you're seeing the white stuff on top of it rather than the translucent grade of it from the slush. If we look out on the road here, there have been several runs of the plow through here on Route 24, but you can see the buildup continuing there as well. Occasional southbound traffic, more northbound traffic, but certainly not as much traffic as a regular day here. And if you looked over at the side of the road, you can see the buildup on the bushes over there next to the traffic. If you come back here again, as I say, the wind is out of different directions here now. Blowing around sometimes sideways into my face here. Very difficult. We look, the volume is here. We're not quite, I'd say, 2 or 3 inches an hour, but maybe an inch an hour at this point. And so the buildup will continue. We're live in Bridgewater. Dan Housley, 7 News Today in New England.
All right, Dan, thank you. We want to shift over to Framingham. Kimberly Bookman is live, and it looks a lot like what Dan's seeing in Bridgewater, where you are in Framingham right now, Kimberly.
Yeah, good morning, Chris, from Framingham. This city was hard hit during last week's nor'easter. You may remember that much of this area was without power, and they are bracing for about a foot of snow today. Let me show you what we're dealing with out here. You can see all of the snow blowing into my face. The wind is starting to whip over here. Take a look at these lights over here, and you will start to see what's falling. It's sort of a wintry mix. The snow that's coming down at this hour is very wet. Take a look at the ground right now. It's kind of a slushy mess. There's not a lot of snow at this point, but what we are seeing is a wet snow. We were driving here on Route 9 this morning, and you'll come on over here and take a look at the roadways. You can see there's a layer of snow on those roadways. Pretty slick, pretty slushy, pretty wet. There are not a lot of people on the roads. They're really heeding the advice to stay off at this hour. We will see if that will pick up as rush hour begins. But at this point, you're going to want to stay off of the roadways because they are kind of slick, as I said, kind of slushy. Not difficult to get by, but they haven't all been completely cleared at this point. So right now, what we're dealing with is just kind of a wet snow. It's falling at a good pace. It will continue to fall throughout the day. Again, this area is expecting a good foot. For now, reporting live from Framingham, Kimberly Bookman, 7 News.
All right, from Framingham, now we want to get a check of the roadways. 7 Steve Tellier is in the storm tracker. He's in Buzzards Bay. And Steve, we see those windshield wipers going and the snow's coming down.
Hi, good morning, Jennifer. And yeah, the visibility and conditions here are rapidly deteriorating. We're on Route 25 North in Buzzards Bay, heading towards 495, if you know this area. And you can see this road is essentially completely snow covered. We're taking our speeds down to maybe 20, 25 miles an hour, and it's honestly hard to see a lot of the road in front of you, especially when you don't have any tail lights to point you in the right direction. You can hear maybe in the background our tires kicking up this slush and snow, this mix. We've been seeing it for the past half hour or 45 minutes. You really have to go slowly to make sure you're driving safely enough for the conditions. Just after 6 a.m., we should normally on a Tuesday morning be heading into rush hour here. And there are, as you can see, very few cars on the road. That is certainly a good thing, because as this day wears on, the fewer vehicles that are on the roads, A, the safer it'll be for everyone, and B, the easier it'll be for plows to get to spots like this that really need some treatment. We have seen the plows out and about this morning, but we're getting to a point where they can't keep up with the snow falling at this rate. Now, live in the Storm Tracker, Steve Tellier, 7 News.
6:10, and if you do have to travel today, you see what the roads look like, and you're going to be impacted if you're driving, but also if you're taking public transportation. MBTA says the commuter rail will be heavily affected from the start of service today. They say all lines will be operating on a reduced schedule, so be aware of that. You'll also notice a switched up schedule if you're taking the subway. The T says all lines will be running on a Saturday schedule. Bus routes are going to follow a regular schedule from the start of service. It includes the Silver Line. Problem is, the T is warning riders ahead of time expect snow routes, so there could be delays, and overall they're warning to expect delays no matter how you're heading out today.
Oh yeah, there'll be plenty of delays and of course cancellations as well. All right, we're just getting started on Today in New England. Our storm force coverage will continue throughout the morning, including JR. You're keeping a close eye on the snow totals already piling up right now.
We are, yeah, here you go. We're talking snow on the way this morning, and it ramps up in intensity through the morning hours. Forecast after the break.
And a live look. This is Route 2 in Bridgewater, where you can see that the snow is piling up on the roadway there. Plows are going by and clearing it, but just as quickly as they can clear it, the snow covers it back up again. It is 6:11. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We're in storm force this Tuesday morning, and here is a live look. You can see out there people are, making the commute to work. They're walking, but the snow is coming down, and it's been coming down for the past couple of hours. First it was rain, and now it's turned to snow.
There are some essential employees who have to get to work. So if you are one of them, just be careful when you're getting out this morning. So the snow has really ramped up, JR, over the past hour. It made that quick transition from rain to snow.
It did, yeah, and so this is it. Here we go into the storm. Nantucket, latest gust, 63 miles per hour. Woods Hole gusting to 51 here in Boston. Had a gust to 47 miles per hour. So as we go through the morning hours, that's what you can anticipate. The current gust right now in the city gusting 38. Martha's Vineyard a gust to 40, even back toward Orange and Worcester gusting between 25 and 30 miles per hour. And I think we're going to find the strongest winds at the coastline. That will be the case as we work through the morning hours and into the afternoon. So I think after about 3 or 4 o'clock, that's when the heaviest wind begins to back away. So again, Nantucket a gust to 63. Mashpee had a gust to 48. New Bedford right now gusting to 37 miles per hour. Bedford and Norwood both gusting around 30 miles per hour. Here is the forecast wind gust, highest on the Cape as well as the islands, gusting as Cape Ann too, gusting 55 to 60 miles per hour. Radar shows that band of heavy snow, and that's working up the South Shore, headed for the city of Boston. We've seen snow all the way up into the Worcester Hills, and you're going to have bursts of heavier snow even out there. But the concentration, the greatest concentration of the heaviest snow is along the coastline and certainly south of town. Just south of town, that's where we think if you want to call it a jackpot, that's where we think the jackpot will set up, Plymouth and Bristol counties. Temps in the mid-30s right now, so some of that snow being eaten up by this relatively milder air. But in other locations, the air is cold enough where it is sticking to road surfaces at this time. You can see the pinwheeling effect from the storm, the nor'easter rotating heavy moisture into southern New England for the next several hours. Here is the storm center right here. It'll rocket off to the east-northeast. And in doing so, then it will take that shield of heavy snow with it, but not until later today, more likely this evening. So the timeline does advertise what you see is what you get. Pockets of heavy snow for the next several hours, perhaps thunder snow. And we're talking, snowfall rates in the order of like 2-3 inches of snow per hour. So it's going to rip for several hours this morning and into the first part of the afternoon. And then here we are at 11 o'clock tonight, still some lighter, patchier snow. Snowfall forecast Plan on about a foot in city of Worcester. Boston, 15 inches. North of town, Groveland, up toward Portsmouth, 13 to 15 inches. South of town, this pink shading right here, this is where we anticipate 15 to 20 inches of a heavier, wetter snow through southeastern Massachusetts, certainly on the Cape and the islands, Cape Ann. But I think for the city of Boston and west, it's a drier snow, meaning that power loss, I think it's only isolated this go around compared to the last storm, Metro West Merrimack Valley. But on the South Shore, with the heavier, wetter snow and the stronger winds, that's where we anticipate scattered power loss, unfortunately. So plug in the mobile devices and have your storm-ready plan ready to execute if you lose that power. Minor to moderate coastal flooding. We watched just one high tide today at 9:13. Thankfully, if there's any good news with the storm, we catch it at astronomical low tides. And there's your 7-on-7 forecast. Into the weekend we go. Lots of sunshine for St. Patrick's Day, but seasonably chilly with temps in the upper 30s in Southie.
JR, thank you. I think we're looking forward to Saturday. We just got to get through this week.
And that St. Patty's Day parade, it's always interesting to see what the weather's going to give you for that.
Oh, yeah. All right, we want to go to Sandwich now, where 7's Carrie Corrado has been there all morning long. And Carrie, I know those winds are whipping up around you there.
Amaka, these winds are so strong, they're driving the snow sideways and it pierces your face. Thankfully, if you keep your back to it, you'll be able to hear me better in the microphone. It's that strong. So this is just some of the conditions we're seeing. We're expecting a lot of snow. In fact, the snow and the amount of snow that we're going to get could be as high as some of these sand dunes once you take a look at it. Now, I've been in Sandwich for majority of the storms this winter season, and each storm is so different. For the last previous storms, we were concerned about flooding, not so much this storm. This storm's going to bring a lot of snow and obviously these heavy winds here, so power outages could be a big issue. Now, keep in mind, a lot of these people are still trying to clean up, so a lot of their cleanup efforts are going to be halted as this storm moves in. Now, we are at Horizons Beach Club in Sandwich, and we are right along the water, so the wind is just whipping right off that water here into the parking lot where I'm standing. So once the sun comes up, we'll be able to give you a look at that rough surf, but very tough conditions out here in Sandwich, and we'll be following them all morning. Back to you.
All right, Carrie, she's got her goggles. She is ready to go.
Yeah, we're just going to have to tether her to that pole so she doesn't blow away. It's fierce out there. Be careful.
All right, stay with 7 News as our storm force coverage continues this morning. We want to take a live look. This is Framingham, and you can see the little snowdrops and raindrops hitting our cameras. That snow moving horizontally there. You do see some cars on the roads there as well.
Let's shift to the west a little bit more. Worcester, and the snow is really coming down hard there. We'll have a live report. Matt Rascone is in Worcester for us. We'll have 7 storm force coverage when we come back. 6:22, good morning to you. It is Storm Force Tuesday, and this is a live look in Framingham where you can see the snow on the lens, 93, or that's not 93 actually, that is in Framingham where you can see traffic is very light, so that's a good sign this morning. A lot of people heeding the warnings and staying home. If you can, that's the best advice.
That is the best advice that officials have been giving, and we know much of the area is under a blizzard warning right now, including right here in Boston. Chris Lambert is outside live for us. And Chris, how are conditions looking out there?
Well, we certainly have the wind. There's no question about that. We've seen some gusts over 40 miles an hour in Boston so far through this morning. In fact, 47 at Logan Airport. Conditions beginning to go downhill. We're picking up the snow intensity here in Boston just a little bit. It's enough to cover some of the mulch areas, some of the grassy surfaces that you see right across here the street. And then we, of course, have a couple of down trees already from the first nor'easter in the city of Boston that's still been uprooted and still laying on its side. But the wind is going to be the issue. That's going to continue to increase, as well as the snow. And to get a blizzard, you need both. You need the visibility reduced to a quarter mile or less with sustained or frequent gusts, 35 miles an hour or greater for 3 hours or more. We do expect that to happen later this morning into this afternoon. So expecting a blizzard here into the city of Boston. Snowfall rates will greatly pick up right around 7 o'clock. What we're tracking here is a band that's just offshore that's going to be pivoting in. So you're going to watch these snow totals rapidly increase in the city of Boston, likely at least 2 to 3 inches on the ground by 9 a.m. And you watch that ramp up through lunchtime, and you're saying, all right, right now, we don't have much on the ground. We're expecting about a foot of snow around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, that's how fast it's going to come. And then once you do get into about dinner time tonight, finishing off right around 15 inches of snow in Boston. I also want to mention that if we do hit 15 inches of snow in Boston, that would be the second biggest March snowstorm on record. There are a couple other big ones in the list from 1891 as well as 1960. Guys, back to you.
And if it snows that late into the evening, it's going to put that much burden on the work crews to clear the roadways. So schools closed today. Could be tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see how that works out.
Yeah, it could be a very historic storm today. All right, more storm force coverage after the break. This is our snow tracker in Wareham. You can see the snow plows at work. Make sure if you are out and about today, you really want to take your time out there.
Yeah, don't crowd the plow, but that's a good place to be if you're driving behind a plow so it can clear the path. Situate, where we're seeing snow now. John Coco, during our last live shot, he didn't have any snow yet. Now it's starting to fall, so we'll have an update from him when we come back. Stay with us. You're watching the news station.
All right, welcome back. We're in storm force this Tuesday morning. This is a live look at Bridgewater along Route 24. You can see that big rig just kind of parked there, the snow coming down. It's a good reminder to stay off the roads because the snow is going to continue to fall steadily pretty much all day long.
Yeah, driver taking a break.
Yeah.
Probably some good advice there. Give the plows a chance to clear away some of that snow. Stay with 7 News Storm Force coverage continuing for you this morning. And we want to go back out live. This is 93 in Andover, and you see there are some cars out there. There are essential employees who need to get to work. Problem is, you probably can get to where you're going right now. It's getting home that's going to be tricky.
Oh, yeah, and we want to go live now to Boston. You can see the snow continuing to come down. It was rain just a couple hours ago, quickly switched over to snow. Stay with us. You're watching the news station.
News Today in New England.
Now at 6:30, we continue our storm force coverage. This is a live look at Worcester, where 7's Matt Rascone has been there all morning. You can see the wind starting to pick up and the snow really starting to pick up.
Let's head south. Bridgewater south area is expected to see the brunt of this storm, and you can see it's already starting to pile up in Bridgewater. We'll have a live report for you from Bridgewater coming up.
And here's a live look in Framingham. You can see there are some cars on the road there. You really want to take it slow if you do have to be out and about, but officials are really warning if you don't have to be out, stay inside.
That's the best advice. If you can work from home, do it. Kids mostly home all across the region. Good morning to you. Happy Tuesday. We appreciate you waking up with us here on 7 News Today in New England. I'm Chris Anderson.
And I'm Amaka Ubaka. The entire state expected to see significant amounts of snowfall, with some areas looking at more than a foot of snow. And we have live Team 7 coverage of this third nor'easter to hit in just the last 10 days, starting with the very latest from the storm from Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Reiner.
Here is that band of heavy snow now working through southeastern Massachusetts. You could really see the pictures there in the Bridgewater area. It looks like, just trying to eyeball those pictures, about 3, maybe 4 inches on the ground there. That might be a little bit aggressive by my estimation. But you get the point that we're off to the races now with the heavy snow. And that band of heavy snow, that deep shading of blue right there, that will continue to work north and west. It'll weaken with time. So by the time it gets up into southern New Hampshire, kind of a shell of itself. But you get the point here that we'll have these heavy bands of blue, these heavy bands of snow, working north and west. And when they come through your neighborhood, I mean, it'll snow hard for an hour, hour and a half. We're talking 2-3 inches of snow per hour for several hours. The storm is well to the southeast, but generating all sorts of precipitation, and that will take on the form of snow. We started as a little rain this morning. I know some of you were up at 4 a.m. going, dude, where's my snowstorm? Chill, it's here now, so enjoy it. So you'll have that through the day, and it will thump hard, especially now up until mid-afternoon. Your timeline, the deep shades of purple, that is the pockets of the heavy snow, and they'll be all over southern New England, with the greatest concentration through southeastern Massachusetts, and then it all does begin to shut down slowly late this afternoon and this evening. I think by this evening, just patchy light snow. Snowfall forecast, the shades of blue. The deep shade of blue, 10 to 15 inches of snow. Western New England, 5 to 10, although there could be a little second area of 10 or more east slopes of the Berkshires. But that's more of western New England than our part of the world. So a closer look here, we're talking Worcester, a foot of snow. Boston, 15 inches of snow. Metro West, between 13 and 15. Merrimack Valley, 13 to 15 inches south of town. This is where we think we're advertising 15 to 20 inches of snow. The pink shading, and it will be a heavy, wet snow as well compared to west of Route 24 and Boston and Worcester. That's a colder, lighter, fluffier snow. So we do not anticipate a repeat of the damaging snow that we saw last week in Metro West. But along the South Shore, it could be a cleaner, heavier, wetter snow, bringing down some trees and power lines. Ren, over to you.
Yeah, good morning. So in terms of travel here today, it goes without saying it's going to be very difficult. And if you can stay off the roads, you should. We are looking at meeting blizzard criteria likely across much of the Massachusetts coastline. And that's going to mean for us that falling or blowing snow is going to make for visibility down to under a quarter of a mile or quarter of a mile or less for 3+ hours. And then frequent wind gusts of 35 miles per hour or greater. So we are likely going to be dealing with those sorts of situations through much of the day here today. Visibility is already significantly reduced down to under of a mile for most of us, and we'll keep it that way through the day. So it's poor travel now all the way into the evening hours with gradual improvements into the overnight hours. Winds are already very strong as well. We've got some gusts up to about 50 miles per hour in Boston, Nantucket, seeing peak gusts of about 63 miles per hour already this morning. And they're going to see peak gusts of close to 70 miles per hour. Right now, the strongest winds are across the coastline, where we do have the biggest concerns with power outages, incorporating the South Shore as well, where we're going to see some of the higher snow totals, although it's high snow totals really for all of us. So the timeline with the strongest winds is through this morning into the mid-afternoon, with peak gusts of about 40 to 55 miles per hour across the coastline. And then as you head towards the Cape and the Islands, as well as parts of Cape Ann, we've got a chance to see some gusts closer to 60, even 65 miles per hour, and close to 70 mile per hour wind gusts on Nantucket. Back to you guys.
Okay, it's 6:35, and the Tewksbury police have tweeted out this video of the snow whipping in the wind, and it's pretty serious here. Conditions in the Bay State are continuing to get worse. They are advising drivers to not crowd the plow. It's a familiar phrase you're used to, and of course, stay home if you can.
And the MBTA is up and running today, but many services will be on a reduced schedule. The commuter rail tweeting this video out of the first train of the day departing from Kingston, with plenty of snow taking up the front of the engine there. You know, they are going to be cautious on those rails today. For sure.
Those first trains of the day, a good start, but it's as the day progresses, it's going to be a lot worse. So just be prepared for that. It is 6:36, and joining us now live on the phone, Mayor Marty Walsh, and we appreciate you taking some time, Mayor, to talk with us this morning. First things first, we know there's a snow emergency in the city of Boston. What are some things that people need to know offhand?
We just want to make sure people, to try and stay off the roads today, make sure that they, as best employers, let people work from home. I think that's something really important. When the snow starts, it's starting now, but when you start to see it accumulate, you probably should go out and shovel a couple times during the day to stay ahead of the storm a little bit, and help any elderly neighbors or anybody who might be homebound. We're asking also to help us with crosswalks. If you have a crosswalk on the corner of your street, shovel those out, because if you don't get it today, we'll lose those crosswalks for a few days here in the city, and also fire hydrants.
And Mayor Walsh, this is Amaka. You said yesterday during a press conference that you haven't seen, we don't believe we're going to see a storm like this since 2015. What are your biggest concerns about the storm today, and how many pieces of equipment do you expect will be on the roads throughout the day?
We're going to have about 800 pieces of equipment out there all day long, and we've pre-treated the roads today. I think that the lingering of this storm is what concerns me, and then obviously we're looking at something sometime next week. So we want to try and, today we'll do plowing. Tomorrow we'll be doing some snow removal, and trying to stay ahead of the storm. We're asking people to be patient. If you have any concerns, we're asking people to call 311, and any emergencies, call 911. But be patient, because we do have crews out there, and they'll get there. There's going to be times during the day today that people are going to think their streets haven't been plowed when they actually have been, but there's just so much snow coming down so quickly.
Mayor, such a long duration of a storm that's going to go into the evening hours. I know a lot of parents trying to plan ahead the best they can. Do you know when you guys are going to make a decision when it comes to Boston City Schools for tomorrow?
Probably sometime later this afternoon. The storm seems like it's going to go till 8 o'clock tonight. We're going to assess as the day goes on where we are with snow removal and opportunities, and because of the duration and the amount of snow we're getting, we'll have to assess our parking lots and school buildings and facilities and see if the sidewalks are clear. I'm not going to put any young people in harm's way, but I'd like to have schools open tomorrow. But we'll see as the day goes on if it's realistic or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayor Marty Walsh, thank you for the update. Again, it's not just clearing the roads, it's clearing the walkways,
right,
clearing
sidewalks.
the crosswalks. You want the kids to be safe, so a lot of that dependent on when the snow finally wraps up.
For sure. All right, we want to go live now to Worcester, where 7's Matt Ruscone has been live all morning long. And Matt, how are conditions looking out there right now?
It's really just been the same story all morning, Amaka. Just from before 3 a.m., the snow really started coming down. We have some points where it was really heavy, and then it's lightened up a little bit. And same with the wind gusts. It's at points the wind really picks up. Take a look behind me. If you look out, I mean, there's really not a lot of visibility out there. We are seeing more traffic on the roads, just as that we get into those rush hour, but of course not nearly as much as you would normally see at this time of the day. Plows have been out in full force. We've been seeing them clearing off the streets. There is quite a bit of accumulation now on the roads. It's pretty wet out there, and so they are asking drivers to avoid driving if possible. If you need to be on the roads, try to avoid those peak hours, and of course be very cautious out there. Schools are closed today, as well as city offices, and again, they're just asking people to be careful out there as we continue out throughout this day. Reporting live in Worcester, Matt Ruscone, 7 News, Tine, New England.
Okay, from Worcester, let's head south. Bridgewater is one of the spots circled on the maps as a potential jackpot zone. Looks like things have picked up behind you a little bit traffic-wise, Dan. Is that just the ebb and flow into the gas station?
That was a conga line of plows that just came through, and those usually have a bit of traffic behind. If you look in the distance there, you can see the flashing lights of the plows, and in front of your picture there, you're going to see where they scrape down the snow, and to the right of that, you're going to see the buildup of snow from what they pushed to the side there. So that's the typical picture you're going to see when the plows go by, a row of them, what traffic there is behind them, getting a clear run. For the moment, you can see the actual snow has lightened a little bit. The winds have lightened a little bit. We're definitely not into the thick of it yet, but we're continuing to get the steady buildup that's going to bring us that foot and a half. Live in Bridgewater, Dan Housley, 7 News Today in New England.
And you can see along Route 24 there, it has been picking up all morning, one of the possible jackpot spots.
It really has. And in fact, Dan's already had to break out his snow shovel for the demonstration. Steve Cooper, our first check-in with Steve this morning, is live in Andover. Any need for props yet, or are you still good to go?
No, I was just here to brush off your car, Chris.
Oh,
but apparently you're inside, and you don't have to worry about that right now, but we do. And you know what? I'll tell you what, people here in the Merrimack Valley, a lot of people just got their power back just 24 hours ago after the last storm. So, this is the snow that's left behind from the last storm. We're only going to go up from here, so you can imagine what this day is going to be like. But take a look at 93 South into the city, because you can see there are commuters out on the roads right now. Obviously, people were sort of encouraged to try to stay home if possible, especially as the storm picks up in intensity around here. But so far, you know what? They were out pre-treating the roads overnight. And right now, the roads are just slushy at this point. But again, state police are reminding people as we go through the storm to take it easy out here. Chris, you can have the snow brush for your car. We got these for Amaka this morning, some donuts to get you guys going and get you through the storm.
Oh, yeah.
All right. It's still early, so stick around. We're live in Andover. Steve Cooper, 7 News Today in New England.
Come on, Steve. We can't do the
glad
powdered
he's giving
sugar.
me the food.
The powdered sugar get all over you, right? All right. Good job out there in Andover, Steve. So much more still to come throughout the morning as our storm force coverage continues.
Yes, JR is here, and he's tracking where the heaviest snow is falling.
Yeah, we don't have any powdered sugar on the suit, but it's early in the game. Cooper's a marathon runner, by the way. I mean, he can eat anything. Some of us have to make smarter choices. Storm force coverage after the break.
And this is a live picture of Framingham. You can see the snow is also coming down there. Earlier, we saw some cars on the roads. It's clear right now. Stay with us. You're watching Storm Force coverage.
Good morning. It is 6:45 on your snowy Tuesday. Live look at our storm tracker in Middleborough this morning. This is 495, and it looks similar to a lot of the roads in this area now. The snow really starting to pile up. So now, if you do need to get out, you really want to be extra cautious.
Yeah, we are really in the thick of things this morning. It has picked up steadily over the past couple of hours. And JR, you said that this is pretty much the scene we're going to be seeing all day long.
Correct. This is the teeth of the storm. We're in it right now. Here you go. The deep shading of blue working through Freetown and Lakeville and Middleborough, the Bridgewater area, thumping hard in those neighborhoods, and that will be the case over the next several hours. These bands of heavy snow, most concentrated through Plymouth and Bristol County, as well as portions of Barnstable County near the canal. And then as they move north and west, they do lose a little of their punch, but still capable of producing some, occasionally heavier bands of snow, even up across the Monadnock region of New Hampshire. This storm has a long reach across New England, so that's why we do have snow in the forecast for the next several hours, with the heaviest snow southeastern Massachusetts. Temps right now in the 30s, the city at 34, Worcester at 30. Hyannis at 34 as well. Unlike its predecessors, this nor'easter has some cold air, so we don't really have much of a dogfight in terms of the rain-snow line. We had it a few hours ago temporarily here in the city and North Shore and down along the immediate South Shore. But snow has taken hold, and it will not let go until the storm is out of here. Here is the storm center south of New England. It'll follow this warm front right here, passing just south of Nova Scotia later on today. But in doing so, heaving a lot of moisture up into southern New England in the form of heavy snow. The deep shades of purple, that's where you have those heavier bands of snow, and it will rip hard for several hours. We're talking 2-3 inches of snow per hour for many communities. You might even get into the dry punch of air. We call that a dry slot. That might even find its way up into Chatham and Nantucket for a short time. But, for the rest of us, we've got that snow continuing for several hours. And then it does begin to wind down later on this evening. And certainly it shuts down overnight tonight. Snowfall forecast 10 to 15 inches in the blue shading in the city. I'd plan on 15 in Boston, Worcester about 12, maybe 13. Merrimack Valley up through the New Hampshire seacoast, 13 to 15 inches of snow. And then on the outer Route 2 corridor, again, not as many bands of heavy snow, but still Jaffrey, Gardner, Athol, Orange, 8 to 10 inches in those locations. And this is where we think we're going to have the highest concentration of the snow, 15 to 20 inches of snow. Freetown and Lakeville, the Bridgewater area, out toward Plymouth and Marshfield, Westport, Mattapoisett, out toward Bourne and Sandwich, 15 to 20 inches of snow. Then working east toward Chatham, again, it's a heavier, wetter snow. So you have compaction going on, and you have some rain in there as well. So that's why the number is not as high out toward Chatham and Brewster, but still upwards of 10 inches of snow likely. It is a colder storm, Metro West Merrimack Valley, so it's not a repeat of what you just came out of last week. It's a drier snow. I do not anticipate widespread power disruption in those locations. That's more likely to happen. Scattered power outages on the South Shore and the Cape with, the wetter nature of the snow, and then the stronger wind gusts found at the coastline. But even Worcester, you see that gust of 30. But again, it'll be a light, fluffy snow out in Worcester versus Plymouth. 7-on-7 forecast, a couple of snow showers tomorrow. Quiet through the holiday weekend. Unfortunately, this stormy pattern, I think, rolls on for several weeks. So it's not shown there, and I won't talk too much about it, but there is the possibility of more storminess middle of next week. One storm at a time, though.
And low astronomical tide, right?
For this one, yeah. So we do watch that 9:13 high tide this morning. So minor to perhaps moderate coastal flooding. That's the good news, is that we only have the one high tide to be concerned about versus 3, which we had 2 storms ago.
Yeah.
I ask you that because we want to shift our focus now to Scituate this morning, and they saw 2 rounds of storms that caused a lot of flooding down in that area.
Yeah, 7's John Coco is there live, and John, the snow is really starting to come down, and that wind as well.
Yeah, Maka, the wind has definitely picked up over the last half an hour or so. This really changed over from just some light flakes and some rain to these big heavy flakes that we're seeing now. If you take a look behind me, though, you can see none of the snow has really accumulated anywhere on the roads, but that's going to change as this progresses through the day. But like I said, this has changed from this morning when we first got here, when we just had rain. Then we had a mix of some light flakes and some rain, and now we have these big flakes that are falling from the sky. But as you guys were talking about, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen some major flooding issues here in Scituate. You had those big waves coming over homes. You had some of those homes getting damaged. You're not going to see that with this storm. This is mainly going to be a snow and wind event. And with that being said, that wind has picked up, and that's why power outages are a big concern here with some of those downed trees, downed wires. And the town had a warning on their website. They want to make sure people still stay away from the coastline, even though you're not going to see that big, heavy, high tide and the flooding and the waves and all that. They still want people to stay away from the coastline because people here are still trying to recover from those last couple of storms. So at this point, big flakes, wind picking up, and it appears that it's changing from what we saw earlier this morning. That's the latest live here in Scituate. John Coco, 7 News, Today New England.
You can see he's having to turn sideways there because that wind is just whipping in his face there. He's almost out of breath.
And he's by the coast, so you've got to figure you got the sand whipping up, smacking him in the face. So hats off, John Coco. Be safe out there. Stay with 7 News Storm Force coverage continuing for you this morning. And we want to go from Scituate, where we saw John, to Plymouth. And you can see the wind whipping up there as well, heavy snowfall. Plymouth, one of the areas where we could see one of the jackpot zones.
And from Plymouth, we want to go to Andover now. This is a live picture, and you can see there's plenty of traffic on the road. There are cars out there. The snow is falling. You want to be careful if you are out and about today. Stay with the news station. We're watching. You're in Storm Force coverage. All right, welcome back. We're in Storm Force coverage all morning long. The time is 6:53. We know one area that saw a lot of flooding. It's used to getting flooding is the North Shore.
Yeah, you know what? We've been focused on the South Shore this morning with Scituate and then on to the Cape and Sandwich and some other areas. But we do want to head north now, and Victoria Warren is live this morning. And where are you, Vicki, right now? Newburyport?
We're in Newburyport now, and quite windy conditions up here. And yeah, the North Shore, just like areas on the South Shore, really hit hard with the last storm. A lot of widespread power outages, and like we've been reporting, some folks just getting their power back on, and here we go again. Going to show you the water here in Newburyport. Definitely choppy, but because we're at an astronomically low tide right now, they're not going to deal with the widespread flooding, thankfully, that they had to deal with the last time around. So conditions out here right now, extremely windy, and it is now starting to snow all morning long. We've had kind of like this rain snow mixture with some surf getting kicked up with it as well, but it has pretty much changed over to snow now, but because the ground's still so wet, not quite accumulating or sticking, but I have a feeling that things are going to quickly change now that it has completely changed over to snow. So again, windy conditions out here. We're going to be monitoring things like possible power outages from the wind, but thankfully the flooding should not be a major concern as we go throughout the duration of this storm. Live this morning in Newburyport, Victoria Warren, 7 News Today in New England.
Tough conditions. 6:55 Storm Force coverage continues after the break.